History comes alive in these remarkable vintage photographs. Each image tells a unique story about the people, places, and moments that came before us. Stay until the end to discover 5 fascinating facts. 1950. Pin-up broke out of posters and into public life. Beauty and flirtation turned into both culture and soft power. January 21st, 1986. Concorde lines up at Heathrow. Supersonic beauty beat the clock, not the balance sheet. Marcy Borders fled down 81 floors on September 11th and emerged as the Dust Lady. One frame holds survival, shock, and the long tale of harm. Marilyn Monroe, 1956, an image refined into an icon, proof that fame can outlast biography. 1958, a parent's arm as car seat, engineering caught up when consequences wouldn't. 7th Avenue in the 1970s stitched America's wardrobe. Street energy fed the runway. Cincinnati's 1874 library, gone by 1955, once vaulted books like a cathedral. Pride can be temporary, its ghosts tall. Jackie Stewart strapped on a helmet camera in the 1960s. Audiences wanted the heartbeat, not just the highlight. The 1970s balanced freedom and turbulence. It danced under mirror balls and argued in the streets. Hemingway with a beer, 1959. Football and irony in a single gesture. Self-myth, lightly worn. LeMay, Iowa, 1939. A boy sips soda at the general store. Small pleasures carried towns through lean years. Versace with supermodels, 1991. A designer circled by future legends. The industry's apex compressed into one shot. Schwarzenegger, 1967. A young bodybuilder preaching health to a packed hall. Yugoslavia applauded the future. Mikhail Gorbachev, 1991. The fatigue of an era written on a face as the system that made it receded with him. Vanessa Paradis, 1991. French youth without makeup. Freshness that quickly matured into a brand. 1979. Big screen TVs and VHS rewrite the family night. The living room becomes a cinema with a pause button. Marshals at a football match. Moscow, 1947. Rokossovsky and Sokolovsky learning peacetime from the stands. Paris, 1950. Vespas as stylish recovery. Mobility turns into a statement with a 2-stroke pulse. Catherine Deneuve, 1960. The future of French cinema glimpsed in the smile of a newcomer. Boston City Hall, 1970. Brutalism that still divides. Time will decide whether provocation becomes belonging. Arpad Kerner, 1933. A volcanologist hanging over Stromboli, profession at the edge, he walked away unharmed. New England, 1955. Lobster as identity on a plate. Regions tell stories in butter and steam. Albert Einstein, 1950. Genius in a chaos of books. Domestic, disheveled, and utterly at ease. 1958. Chamber music and French poise. Small room, large grace. Sergei Dovlatov, New York, 1984. A small island of calm with his son, literature distilled to ordinary tenderness. London, 1967. Hippies at the Apple Boutique. When walls become murals, sidewalks become stages. The Ritchie Riders, 1989. Teenagers who would soon become the cult faces of the 1990s. Jacques Lehmann, 1924. Painter and cat. Proof a studio can be crowded with a single quiet moment. Mercedes-Benz W187, 1951. Craftsmanship returns bolt by bolt. Luxury relearns patience. General Vlasov, Moscow, 1941, cheered as a defender, already tracing a line that would turn against him. Turn-of-century child labor. Mills, mines, meager wages. Reform is the long echo of a photograph. Robert Downey Jr., 1980, a t-shirt reading Brat that summarized a decade more neatly than a bio. Paris, 1968, Charente, beauty filmed at the edge of rupture, the city's pulse caught between hope and grief. London, 1904, working class kids fill the street, freedom wore scuffed boots and no helmet. Pat Nixon in the USSR, 1972, ice cream as soft power, diplomacy that melts barriers one cone at a time. Manhattan, 1970s, bikers as urban tribes, rebellion needs both an engine and a jacket. Bruce Lee with a kitten, 1972, precision tempered by gentleness, authority without cruelty. 1979, early shoots still missing the signature sarcasm, the look that would become a calling card. 1960s classrooms, hands to hearts for the pledge, ritual is how a nation rehearses itself. Robin Williams with a housekeeper, 2002, the jester who found oxygen in any room, restless light bottled mid-spark. Monica Bellucci, 1991, first step toward global stardom, with the gaze already doing half the work. 1941 shoppers choose a refrigerator in hats and caution. Modernity enters through the kitchen, receipt in hand. Friends, 1994, just actors on a set, for a minute before the show tightened its grip on the world. Scholl sandals, late 1970s, exercise by discomfort. Wellness often asks feet to pay first. Charles Darrow and Monopoly, a pastime built at a kitchen table, capitalism taught by dice and rent. Virginia City, 1880s, miners rise dusty into daylight. Wealth is often measured in someone else's lungs. Meryl Streep and Sam Neill, 1989, cons without posing, when conversation outranks couture. Gunhild Larking, 1956 Olympics, women's track stepping into the world's center lane. College life in the 1970s throbbed with music and midnight talk. Classrooms doubled as labs for culture and identity. Colorado farm family, 1954, Margaret Burke White, a household pulling together, work braided into solidarity. In 1957, Olivetti's Swiss showroom fused modernism with retail. A typewriter carried a design philosophy, not just a carriage return. Pineapple Harvest, Hawaii, 1945, Elliot Elisophon. Sweetness measured in crates, tropics globalize. Rita Hayworth beside a 1947 Lincoln turns post-war optimism into shorthand. The car becomes her co-star. New York Rail Station, 1930, smoke keeping time, an industrial metropolis breathing in steam. Early 20th century playgrounds were bare wood and steel. Minimalism taught balance and risk long before safety foam. The first 1912 photo of Nefertiti reset how we see Egypt. Sometimes a single profile rewrites a syllabus. 1932, Eisenstadt, elegance drilled on ice, the Alpine school teaching, grace under blades, Lisbon. An Irish family of 9 in 1908 faces the lens calmly. Size was both insurance and identity. Victorian Britain's homeless children are progress's underside. The lens refuses to let us look away. Cowboy and Horse, Texas, 1910, a silhouette that branded a continent's myth. A 1970s phone booth next to a mailbox is ritual, not nostalgia. Connection once required place, coins, and patience. 1949 drive-ins, married cars, and cinema, the windshield became a shared stage under stars. A 1937 family skating with a baby shows courage and delight. Memory doesn't ask for perfect conditions. Azita Bakery, New York, 1947. Berenice Abbott, Sicilian craft perfuming a modern block. Cabanatuan, 1945. Freed POWs reduced to bone, bodies testify when words cannot. Annie Taylor survived Niagara in a barrel in 1901. Spectacle sells poorly after the headline fades. Alabama, 1937. Arthur Rothstein. Bare rooms, long stories, the country's scars in plain view. Black Belt, 1968. Martial arts step into mainstream. Discipline becomes lifestyle. Magazines, the passport. Freud and Jung in a bath, 1907. Two architects of the mind briefly aligned before paths forked. 1943. Photo booth, a man and his shepherd. Companionship is its own ration in wartime. Yuri Gagarin, 1961. 60 minutes since orbit, already myth. History sprinting past its own breath. Vasa sank in minutes, 1628, and rose intact centuries later. Failure, preserved, became Sweden's hit exhibit. Stock Exchange, 1938. The sweep after the bell, booms and busts making the same mess. In 1962, Katherine Johnson's pencil sent Alan Shepard safely skyward. Before Silicon, Courage shared a desk with Calculus. Florida, 1949, Nina Lean. Sidewalk theater where wonder arrives unannounced. New York, September 2001. A car wash beside ruins. Routine can be a quiet refusal of chaos. Berlin, 1931. A motorcycle with a child's sidecar solves logistics. Improvisation is mobility's first engine. Bordeaux in Spain, 1968, is mystique without borders. Fame once traveled by aura, not algorithm. Vegas, 1976. Dangerfield's billboards pre-sell the punchline, branding is a joke that keeps landing. Bruce Lee, 1960. Asleep on a bench, discipline begins with rest. Southeast Missouri, 1938. An FSA portrait grants dignity to grind. Federal photography turned hardship into civic memory. Housewife calisthenics, US, 1938. Exercise before an industry, usefulness without a slogan. South Vietnam, 1966. A Sky Raider drops white phosphorus, strategy clarified, conscience complicated. Kitchen in Arkansas, 1936. Newspapered walls, poverty archived in paste and print. Iowa, 1959. Khrushchev's belly rub joke softens a Cold War minute. Diplomacy sometimes smiles. Vineyard, Germany, 1960. Riesling climbing the Rhine's ribs, identity bottled from slope and sun. 1970s, Houston paved for cars and called it progress. Convenience flattened the city's fabric. 1950s, London. Kids reclaim streets as pitches. Community starts where the ball stays in play. Early 1960s. Houston, operators connect voices by hand. Before code, connection was a craft. Dusseldorf, 1953, twin Lambrettas, ferry, a family at 78 kilometers per hour. Design, answers romance with economy. 1971, Tippi Hedren lives with a 400-pound lion. Yesterday's novelty reads as today's caution. Kissing couple, Paris, 1950. Kiss, sharer. Cinema's grammar discovered in daylight. Kabul, 1981. Students move through a tense city toward class. Education is stubborn when history is not. Paris laundresses, 1956. Cartier-Bresson. A city's rhythm measured in wrung cloth and conversation. Amiens, 1918. A woman and her cow on a bench. Sometimes home is whoever follows you. 1912. An ocean city shifting its weight before a century turns. Barcelona, 1992. Lithuania's tie-dye uniforms via Grateful Dead. Independence needs money, and a myth. Lecco, Italy, 1968. Paolo Monti. Factories and lake light in quiet negotiation. 1518. Michelangelo sketches a grocery list for an illiterate servant. Genius bends to appetite. Haymaking, Slovenia, 1956. Labor choreographed as festival. Rural time in 4/4. Radio Shack, 1979. The cordless phone teases a wireless home. Freedom began with a longer reach from the wall. Marseille Market, 1954. Cartier-Bresson. Bouillabaisse in the air and bargaining on the tongue. Commerce as theater. Girl Scout cookies, 1965. Fundraising fused with neighborliness. Commerce can be conversation. Alabama, 1956. Ordering at the colored counter. Gordon Parks made bias undeniable in black and white. Margarita Terechova, 1950s. A captain's jersey before the stage. Command present even in uniform. J.C. Penney, 1965. Walls of TVs replace the hearth. Flicker migrates from fire to phosphor. 1962. Headlines. A year's nerves in print. News is the diary we didn't plan to keep. Churchill, 1895. A cocksure young officer. Destiny sometimes looks like extra confidence. Elizabeth II in Moscow, 1994. One visit, two eras shaking hands in public. Google, 1999. A quiet ad about search. The quiet things often change the room. Iggy Pop, Ute Lemper, Tarantino, Burton, 1997. Four currents crossing, rock, cabaret, pulp, and gothic in a shared wake. Linda Carter with her mother, 1972. Calm before capes, fame runs faster than film. 65-centimeter telescope, Babelsberg, 1924. Berlin's lens opening a new sky for science. Late 1910s autochrome. A Native American in true color. Sometimes history needs hue to feel honest. Sharon Tate, 1968. Luminance without warning. Tragedy still off stage. Hillary Clinton in Tokyo, 1993. A title on paper, a portfolio in practice. Hachiko waited 9 years at Shibuya. Loyalty ignores timetables. John Lennon, 1967. A pre-iPhone selfie. Intuition beating technology to the punch. Alaska, 1867. $7.2 million. $136 million today. Bought leverage. Value often shows up late. Hemingway in Spain, 1937. The reporter's notebook that would edit into fiction. A thylacine photo prefaces 1936 extinction. The frame survived where the animal did not. Adolf Dassler, 1954. Boots stitched by hand. The final lifted with feet he outfitted. Lev Yashin and Rinat Dasayev, 1982. Two goalkeepers, two pallets. Tradition handing off to modernity. Mendeleev and Kuinzi, 1907. Chemist versus painter over a chessboard. Structure debating light. Spain, 1920. Anton Ariz. Care rendered in universal grammar. Kindness requiring no subtitles. Sean Connery, 1965. Bond mid-stride. The half smile that launched a franchise of gazes. Halle Berry, 1992. Awardless, not aimless. Trajectory written in posture. Boris Yeltsin, 1996. A small rally, a heavy brief. Leadership measured in burdens, not bodies. Sankthansson, Norway, 1956. A bonfire at midnight sun. Ritual outshining weather. Salma Hayek, 1990. Charisma at the threshold. Hollywood's door already ajar. SAS and Thatcher, 1980. The room set to steel, resolve made visible. Ford and Edison, 1923. Two engines of industry diagramming a future they intended to build. Balloon races, Berlin, 1908. Silk lifting the city's eyes, society climbing for sport. And now, 5 interesting facts. Abraham Lincoln was a self-taught lawyer who read law books by candlelight after long days of manual labor. His wisdom and eloquence later defined one of the most crucial presidencies in American history. Florence Nightingale transformed nursing from a low-status job into a respected profession. Her work during the Crimean War saved countless lives and modernized hospital care. Amelia Earhart became the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. Her disappearance mid-flight remains one of the greatest mysteries in aviation history. Karl Marx lived most of his life in poverty, often borrowing money for rent. His writings, however, went on to shape political ideologies for over a century. Frida Kahlo turned her lifelong pain from injuries into powerful art. Her self-portraits express raw emotion and cultural pride, inspiring generations after her. Often, Black people became victims of torture and executions based on false accusations of disobedience, insulting the honor of white women, or mere suspicion without any evidence. This occurred especially frequently during the period from the late 19th century to the mid-20th century, approximately 1880 to 1950s. The first recorded American Beach Beauty contest took place in 1880 at Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, drawing several hundred spectators. The photo shows an example of such a competition. Thank you for watching, have a great day, don't forget history, and make sure to subscribe to the channel.